So starting off with the agenda. So what we will be covering, we'll be covering the timeline in the recent past that has happened as far as the announcements that have taken place as well as the releases that we have done. We will also have an overview of the release notes, which is the contents of the release. Then we'll go through those aspects that we changed within the software itself in the demo. And then lastly, we will be open for questions. But at any point during the webinar, when you have questions, please feel free to post them in the chat. Right. My name is Michael. I am the product manager within our public sector portfolio. And I'm not alone. Joining me is Stefan, who's our content provider, as well as Tepiso, who's our product owner. So there will be someone responding to the questions as we go along. Brilliant. Now let's jump into it. So as far as the timeline is concerned, we did make a few releases last year. And again, there is content on the release that we did in November. The content of that release is available in Caseware community. I am going to post in the chat the link to those release notes. So as part of the periodic refinement and improvements of the standard chart of accounts, which is the SCORE, National Treasury enhanced data quality and alignment with best practices, which involved updating account structures, definitions, as well as classification rules for better tracking of funds and spending. So this was done in May. Essentially, it was the SCORE toning as well as BES re-implementation. So subsequent to that, in September, we released an update which included the updated chart as well as the Excel apps. So we did that in September. And recently, that's in November, we then released our annual update to align with the MCS standard. And of note, we updated the case view to the prescribed format. We made changes to, the first one was the notes to the appropriation statement, the statement of financial position, the statement of changes in equity, the statement of changes in net assets, the cash flow statement, as well as accounting policies and the notes to the financial statements and annexures. So the new SCORE version and the updated version of the Excel apps was also included in that release. Now of note, we also took the opportunity to include some considerable improvements in the product. And these were the departmental revenue note. Under this, the sub-note, which is the gifts, donations, and sponsorships received in kind, not included in the main note or sub-note, are now linked to Annexure 1H. On the annual appropriation note, the sub-note conditional grants is now linked to the correct column from the note statement of conditional grants received. Then the movable tangible asset note. The default for all sub-notes in this note was portrait, and it did not fit on the page. So I think most of you will remember this. This default for the sub-note is now set to landscape, and everything now fits in that page. Now, one of the most important improvement that we did in the MCS template was the clear current balances. So we implemented a new feature which was added to clear all balances, be it actual budgets, adjusted budgets, variance as well as shifting of budget for the current year. This will ensure that on subsequent imports, only balances as import will show. This feature is available under engagement. You then click on imports, Vulindlela, and then you find the option to reset current year actuals and budgets. And again, to reiterate, all these, the documentation for this is available within the release notes, which is, the link is shared in the chat. So now what we are going to do next, I'm going to hand over to Stefan, who will take us through the details of the release in the software itself.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you for this opportunity to show you on this latest MCS release. Thank you, Michael, for that detailed introduction. But let's see how it looks like in the software. Okay, so the whole cycle of getting the software is that the release is that you should get a notification of the latest release, which then will give you through the information of all the content changes. But what's important about this release is that it also coincided with the release of Caseware Working Papers 2025. So from the notification, the email that you would receive, you would be guided to go to Caseware Community. From Caseware Community, you will log in. You will then go to My Software, the menu of My Software, download the software, and start selecting the software that you need for this update, Caseware 2025. MCS 2025 and your connector 2025, download that software and install that software. Remember that for that process, you need to have local administrative rights. So you could be required to contact your IT department to assist you with that installation. Okay. After you've installed the software, what is important is that you would have your Caseware 2025 application. It be installed on your computer. You can either launch from your desktop the icon, or under your program files, just type in your start button for Caseware, and it will list the application on your start button, launch the application, and now you will have to start with Caseware. Okay, that's like you always have done. But what's important for us to check after you've installed the application is that you are on the right version. The best way to do that is to, under your menu here on the left-hand side, these are the main control menus of the application. You go to Help, and you can see that Caseware 2025 version 00091 release 2 has been installed on your workstation. So that's very important. If you don't have this version, the update will not work. You are not allowed to work on this update. Okay, so that's very, very important, this Caseware version. From the templates, just a very easy check you can do is after you've now downloaded and installed the software, you should have the modified cache template installed on your PC that says modified cache standard 2025_1201. Okay, so that's the template you need to have installed on your workstation. Okay, great. So I think again, maybe if you want me to take you through the download installation process, that hasn't changed from last year. Just let us know. But for now, let's just go into the software. You've downloaded, you've installed, and now you're ready to go. what will happen is if you're now moving from Caseware 2024 to Caseware 2025, the moment you open up any previous Caseware file, let's just have a look here quickly. I want to see if I cannot access an older file. Then you would be notified of a conversion on your file. Okay, so this is not the update. No content is going to change. This is literally just converting your file that has been created on Caseware version 2024 to Caseware version Working Papers 2025. Always good to make a backup. So don't, I always recommend always make a backup. It's good as a fallback. So don't untick that. Click OK, and your file will be converted. I'm not going to convert the file now, but I want to show you just that. That's going to be one of the first things that you will see when you access your Caseware file. Okay. The next thing is that you're gonna. So I just want to go back to my open and my recent files. So you're gonna now open up your file that you have been working on, and it depends now in where are you in the journey. You know, so remember we are now in Q3. Time frames, Q3, submission due the end of January. You should have completed, hopefully, your Q1 this year. There was a amnesty not to submit the Q1, so you would have done Q2. And to do Q2, you should have done a year-end close, imported your latest Blundlela, and now be ready for your Q3 submission. I'm saying that because that's not a context that I assume, or we assume you are working from. But if you have not done a year-end close, I will quickly take you through the year-end close process as well, just to remind you to take your file that you did for your financial statements at the end of June 2025, how to take that file for your file that you need to have for your 2026 financial year. Okay. However, let's say you now open up your Caseware file, immediately this dialog will pop up. So this dialog is the dialog that manages the content update. All those things that Michael was referring to based on a new version of the specimen, incorporating the toning of the SCOA, as well as the latest release on the Excel plus the patch that Treasury had on that Excel, all is included in this update. Okay, so the screen will pop up, and you will, on the plus, you will have two options. Either you can replace your whole set of financial statements, that's option one, and you can read rule one is always in our training is read the screen. And if you read a screen, you can see they replace all the content in my current financial statements. Previous customizations will be lost out. So that's a full replace. That's also not if you are doing increment content updates, what we recommend. We will recommend that you select option 2 for this update. So select the update there. You can make another backup at this point if you want. However, at this point, you would confirm that you've made a backup, and only after that you have confirmed that you've made a backup, then the update button will be made available for you to run the update. Then click the update, and the update is available. There's also a link to our release notes, and that is available on the screen, and that will just take you to Caseware Community, and on Caseware Community, the content that Michael took us through will just be shown in detail. I'm going to run the update. I've already run the update on the file. It takes about 10-15 minutes to run the update, so I'm not going to do that now for this demo. If you open up your screen and you don't see that pop-up coming, the reason being it could be historically you selected to do not show this again, and therefore do not show this again. It's just a logic to say, listen, I don't want to have this screen pop up every time I open up the file. Let's just hide it. But now you want it, and then you can just use the check for update button on your template toolbar, and that will launch this update screen, and you can then select the two options. Okay, cool. So that actually, I'm just going to now jump to the file that I've already updated. You can see that I've got the auto compress automatically open. I like the auto compress to be open, or to engage, to be set in the file. You just make sure that it's the Caseware file is nicely and compressed. Okay, then log in to the file that I've now already updated. Just go in there. And you would now, after we've now in the file, okay. So this is now the file after the update has been run. You can see that the version has changed. In the public sector templates, we utilize the layout, which is like a summary of all your shortcut keys that you would need. In the layout, we also present for you the version of the file, and you can see that this version has changed from 2024-12.01 to 2024-12.01, 2025-12.01, which means the update has now run on this file. So this now, all you were in your previous, or your file that you prepared for Q2, now you want all those changes to be on your case view financial statements. You run that update, and the version of your file has changed. Okay. The first step that you would need to do always in the Caseware world is to import. And this is, and I'm showing you, this has not changed, the import process, but one of the things we want to achieve with the objective of this webinar or this What's New is also to make sure we give you through information of things that is relevant for now, and that will help you with your preparation for Q3, Q4, and for your annual financial statements. On the import, you need to download your latest Vulindlela reports, revenue control, expenditure control, and your trial balance report. As always, browse through those reports. I have some here just for demo. I will select my revenue control report. Remember, you can't access these downloaded reports from Vulindlela. If you've accessed them and saved it and try to import in Caseware will not allow it. It's like a safety measure that we built in. You can only download and select the reports to import. That's the revenue, the expense, and then the trial balance. At the screen, what is important, the context where you are in, is that you have, and this is a very important step here for Q3, the adjustments budget has already been concluded in November. So all your adjustments, your variance, and your shifts you want to include in your adjusted budget column, and you only want to show your variance and shifts of the post-adjustments budget process in your shifting and your variance columns. Therefore, it's important to click that item there. For the budget imports, let's just explain this again. For the budget imports, is that this is the section in the dialog that manages the options for your budget. The first option, if you start off the file, is just to import the original budget. The second option, this one, if you have your pre-adjustments budget, your variance and your shifts separately, and then in your, but where we are now in the Q3, which is now post-adjustments process, is that we want to import the variance and shifts and the adjusted budgets to the adjusted budget, and we only want to show the post-adjustments variance and post-adjustments shifts separately. And remember, those are all driven from your budget types in Vulindlela. If your budget team, they need to process the right budget entries to those budget types for the automation to work. So if they process using the wrong budget types or variance and shifts, then it will not go to the right places in your appropriation statement. Okay, so, but for now, post-adjustments budget, select your Vulindlela reports and do your environments and select option 3. We refer this to option 3 and then convert and import. Okay, if you have done this, then you are ready for Q3. However, let's just go through the process. Now I have updated, I've imported, I am launching, and remember, if I've posted import, the first action report we recommend you always to open is your appropriation statement. And because the appropriation statement's got the impact on your financial statements, so we first want you to review your appropriation statement, and then we can go to the financial statements. Okay, I will get you the new content, but I'm like taking you just through the journey of the update and the steps, what is important. Okay. Now you've opened up your appropriation statement and you look at your total. It looks good. There's no shifts and variance in this file, but you say, but the total adjusted appropriation, that's wrong. So what now? What now? So you don't know in this context, but I know. Say, listen, this total is not the total. It's what's happening now. So then there is just one step that you need to remember that could potentially, or most of the time, the reason for this is that you need to make sure that after each import from Vulindlela, all your objectives that could potentially have been created needs to be allocated to the relevant sub-programs. And what happened is, you know, in this process, you normally do this setup at your first Q1 or at Q2, and you've done the setup unless there has been a new objective that has been used post your Q2. You should not have an issue, but if you have your appropriation statement total is not correct, then the probability is you've got a new objective that has been imported from Vulindlela, however, which has not been allocated to your specific sub-program. And to do that allocation, as you have been covered through during your training, I'm just going to do that again. You're going to go to engagement, consolidate. That's the terminology we use, engagement, consolidate. Click on that and you will see the engagement consolidate screen. What I always do is that the rule of thumb is your engagement consolidate screen needs to be neat. So neat means that you have your predefined programs that has been set in the MCS template, and you don't want to see any of your objectives that is outside your structure, which is then your structure here below. So you can see here, okay, here is a few programs that's lying outside the structure. I need to map them to the relevant sub-program. Where to take this you could potentially just, if you're not aware, speak to your budget office. They will tell you where the objectives needs to be allocated to which sub-program. But then you can just drag and drop those objectives to the relevant sub-program. If I look at my engagement consolidate screen now, it's nice and neat. If I go to my structure here, you can see there is no objective codes. You can see objectives got a 8-digit code, which is not lying outside the structure. And you can just review for each one of your programs and your sub-programs. Yes, everything looks neat. And you can click OK. And now you are ready to go. Okay, so now we've allocated those objectives to the sub-programs. And now I can launch my appropriation statement again. And that now will make sure that my appropriation statement is more complete. Okay, so give it a moment. The appropriation statement is just now recalculating. It's launching there on my other screen. I will drag it over now. Right, okay. You can see there the total appropriation has now shifted from 26 to 29 billion rand, and now this is now more the complete picture on what you want to see. No values in your shifts environments, as I mentioned, and now you are happy. Okay, cool. So I think that's a very important process that you need to consider for this release. The reason why this is also very much applicable with this release is linked to that first compliance change that Michael was referring to regarding the BAS SCOA toning and re-implementation. So that BAS SCOA toning and re-implementation meant there's a lot of new votes or a lot of new account numbers that was created for the item segment as well as for the objective segment. So in the background, those are brand new accounts that is now being brought in from your Vulindlela import, and you for the 25-26 financial year need to allocate them correctly because they did not exist in the 24-25 financial year. Okay, so I think that's one of those easy low-hanging fruit that can quickly resolve any issues you have on your appropriation statement. The next new thing I want to show you, and this is maybe new, and up to now it was actually just a recap of things to consider, is if you click on import from Vulindlela, you would see that there's now a new option to reset your current year actuals and budgets. I think from some of our clients that that has an issue on the Vulindlela imports, they normally resolve this with the help of our support team by, we call it the zero balance import, and it was a bit of a tedious process to clear all the balances, but now with this new release, this is we actually assisted the client this week, and it really just made the whole process much easier. You can reset and clear out all your balances and your budget balances without changing any mapping and setup. It just deletes your balances. It clears out your working trial balance. Click on that, click OK, and it will clear out your working trial balance. And the reason why you would do that, it will clear out the balances. So there's no balances showing your working trial balance anymore. And then after you've done that, you can go back and just then re-import from your Vulindlela reports. The rule of thumb, in case where it is case where you should agree exactly to Vulindlela. If it doesn't, then either there was issue on the previous import, and the best, then easiest way to resolve that is just to clear the balances and re-import your balances from Vulindlela. and then each case where should agree exactly to what is in Vulindlela. Remember then on your re-import to select the right import options for the adjusted budget, because we are in the context that we are in Q3. Okay, cool. Another thing I just wanted to cover here is also, I don't want to go back to the screen, is importing of the prior year balances. So that's really now also linked to your year-end close. Okay, so the best for this release, and because of the SCOA toning and re-implementation, the best practice in preparing your 25-26 financial year, and actually for any previous years, is always to start off with a year-end close of your 24-25 financial year. You do the year-end close, and this I'm showing for those clients that has not done a year-end close yet and still need to do a year-end close in order to prepare a 25-26 financial year. But it's also linked to our best practice that we recommend for this release, is to start off with your year-end close. Remember, year-end close, you are now in last year's file, you click on year-end close, you define your new year's file name. By default, Caseware really predefines the best settings normally for your year-end close, so you don't need to worry too much about these settings. The only one that you need to always remember on your year-end close is to roll forward your custom balances. That is super important to bring over your adjusted budget, which is a custom balance. If you don't want to, and that adjusted budget is utilized on your appropriation statement, or comparatives on your appropriation statement. So that's super important to select that option there, but then do your year-end close. Then you're on your 26 file, and then if you do your import from Vulindlela, you just focus on importing your current year. The reason why we're saying this is that you can import your prior year. However, what we've seen is with the SCOA toning and re-implementation, there are some accounts which the meaning has changed from 24-25. The account number has remained the same, but the definition of the account has changed from 24-25 to 25-26. And that could cause an issue where in the current year it means that it is goods and services, but in the prior year it's actually sitting under transfers and subsidies. So really only for this year, for this first year of the SCOA toning and re-implementation, try to avoid importing any prior files, because that's on the old SCOA, and you only focus on importing the new financial year on the new SCOA, and you should not have any issues. Remember, in Caseware, the year-end close will take care of your prior year numbers. You don't need to re-import, still the correct context. So that's why we recommend that as the best practice. You can import. It's not going, we're not going to not allow it to import. We just then need you to do then a due diligence on your prior information to make sure that all the balances are correct, because as I mentioned, there are some accounts which the definition is has changed from the previous year to the current year, but it's the same number, and that causes an issue. Okay. So what do I want to say else on that one? Okay. Remember, again, this is only for the 25-26 financial year. In the 26-27 financial year, you are now 2 years on the new SCOA, and therefore any clashes with the old and the new SCOA is not an issue anymore, and the risk on a prior imports decrease. Okay. Good. That's the imports. Okay, which is in an in-store world, one of the most important portions. And if you get that right, wrong, then your report is not right. If you get that right, then your report is right. Okay, easy. Okay, then see my notes. Okay, so on the appropriation statement, and this is now launched the financial statements. Remember, as I mentioned, on the reiterated fact, first opt import, first complete your appropriation statement. Make sure that you are happy with your appropriation statement. Make sure your engagement consolidate is set up, and then only then go to your financial statements. Okay. So I'm just launching the financial statements, and we're going to go through the changes that was made on the financial statements. Okay. So I think the biggest change was historically, if you had any statutory appropriation that is a receivable, meaning not all the money that government, that National Treasury was supposed to pay over to you as because of the DORA, because of the transfer, has not been paid over. That results into receivable. Historically, the statutory receivable was only a liability, but because Treasury normally paid over all the amounts due to the departments, the municipalities departments. However, there has been some instances where it haven't happened, and that will then change that money that is due from to the department as receivable, and we need to then just cater for the statutory appropriation receivable. Similarly, for the voted funds receivable, normally National Treasury were owning departments' money and has paid over us, apologies for that, has paid over all the transfer to the departments, and there was a resubmission back to National Treasury of the unspent money, and that will create a liability. However, there was now also again instances on the voted funds that is owed to the department that resulted in a receivable, and you need to show it under receivables on the balance sheet side. Our experience that this doesn't happen often. It's only at our one in Mpumalanga, the whole province, there was only of the 15 departments, there was only one department that has an issue with this. So this receivable is not that doesn't happen often. However, from an accounting point of view, this is the right way of dealing with it. With that, the update to the voted funds to be surrendered, voted funds receivable. In the specimen, Treasury opted not to create two separate notes, both for the statutory and for the voted funds, utilized the same note. However, then updated the note just with the relevant descriptions to deal with whether it is a voted fund receivable or a voted fund surrender, or statutory receivable, or statutory appropriation that do be surrendered to the end. Okay, so that is the change on the balance sheet. So I just want to notes. Okay. Then to the appropriation, the notes to the appropriation statement, we also updated. You will see that there is now better space for you to give comments on the relevant programs and how you are doing against those programs. And is we updated this economic classification table, and needed to add here this summary grant. So updated the per economic classification table within total. It was missing, and then just make sure that all of these rows aligned to the statement of financial performance. Okay, at a higher level. Remember, that's at a higher level. Okay, so we've dealt with the notice of appropriation statement. We've dealt with the statement of financial position. Update to the statement of changes in net assets. There is the Cura fund that we just needed to add. Remember, all of these also has a resulting effect on the mapping database that has been updated. But the auto map of the during the Modelo import should take these to trying to get something else. We'll take these to the relevant categories, but it's going to stay changing assets. On the retained funds, the new map number transferred from the core funds has been added. Whilst we are here, we can also just check out that the two new mapping numbers for those two new assets on the statement of financial position, the receivables is included. Just give me a moment. I just see my battery is going to die. Just give me a moment. Apologies for that. Okay. Okay. So those two new mapping numbers has been added also to link up to those two line items that has been added to the statement of financial position. Okay, great. Sure, content is not that sometimes it's a bit laborious, but very important. Okay, so on the cash flow statement, those because of the new asset classes that has been added on the statement of financial position to receivables, the impact of those also need to be considered on the cash flow statement, and that has been updated. Okay, now we go to the accounting policies. Three new accounting policies has been added. The appropriation funds, that, and just to remind you again of some navigation options you have within any of the template. I use the F5 to get to my bookmarks. So on my keyboard, I need to use function F5, but maybe you can just use your F5, and that will launch the dialog for you. Go to bookmark. And I wanted to go to the three new accounting policies that has been added. The appropriated funds, the changes to this new one, but there's a change to the immovable capital assets, and then there's also change to the provisions accounting policy. So let's just then be at the appropriated funds accounting policy. This section here at the bottom has been updated. The net amount of any appropriation fund due or from the relevant fund is recognized, and that is really then linked up to that new asset classes that we have added to the statement of financial position. Okay, let's go to the other one, which is the immovable. Um, Capital assets. So I just need to go there. It was under capital assets, so I should have just jump to my capital assets accounting policy. And you can see there as a subnote to the capital assets is the immovable capital asset accounting policy that has been updated. And again, the last paragraph has been updated. The last one is the provisions, function F5, provisions and contingencies, being the provisions and accounting policy has also been updated regarding the last sentence in the accounting policy. Okay, cool. Then there has been some notes that has been updated from. I think for us the most important changes to the notes is really linked to, and I'm going to start with that, with the Appendix 5. So the Appendix 5, let's just see if we cannot get to that accounting policy. There's an appendix listed here. If you also navigate, then you can use the document map. So this is show you again what I did there is that I go to my case where menu here at the top under home or under view, there is the document map. I enable the document map. It lists all the sections here. I want to go to Annexure 5, and this is the Annexure 5 that has been totally revamped in the specimen financial statements. And it's linked to the advance and to the, not advances, to the contingent liabilities, the accruals, the payables not recognized, because all of those notes now need to refer to Annexure 5. However, I also want to show you this radio button. And during the specimen, the consultation process, there was like two versions of Annexure 5 that was sent around by National Treasury. We, at the end of the day, the first option and the radio on the radio button is the official layout of the Annexure 5. However, we deemed it maybe as some good additional information that to you to, if you want to swap around to the more detailed layout of Annexure 5, then you can do that with the array button, and it will list for you that confirmed and that unconfirmed balances that is outstanding. But I think for now, utilize your, the first option is the basic information that you need to give on Annexure 5 to the relevant, to include it in your financial statements. Let's just then F5 to my contingent liabilities, contingent asset note, and you can see this. It has now been referring to the Annexure 5, and similarly rules and payables link to your Annexure 5, and the values that you complete here. So there is a difference between the government entity and the other government entity. Let's just look at that. So you can see and again, it's the same workflow for all the annexures. If there's an annexure in your MCS, always complete first the annexure, and it will, because that's a detail, and it will populate the relevant note that is within your financial statement. So you can see here on the tool, whatever I punched in the annexure with the detail there will total to the relevant note, and the same applies to the contingencies, and the same applies to the employee benefits, and you can see that there's that new section that has been added there. Okay, so I think that is again annexure 5. The detail there. Remember, on the KSB side, we help you to present your information and to populate your information. However, you on your side needs to do your working paper that breaks down information for the annexure 5 between the contingent liability, the accrued, the payable, not recognized, the employee benefit, and the provisions. Okay. Okay, so I think that's the just maybe one of the biggest changes in this release is annexure 5 and its impact on those notes that we have just gone through now. Okay, so I think that's a big one. That's a big one for this release, annexure 5. Then this is I'm going to look at some of the other notes that needs to be sorted. Just want to show the last one. Start to do commitments. So be very cautious about the disclosure regarding leases. In some of the notes, the reference to leases has been removed, and it was included then in other notes. For example, the lease commitment note has been updated relating the material leasing arrangements, and those you need to consider now. Whereas I think the immovable note that on you can see here in the movable tangible assets, the leases has been removed. Finance leases has been. So just be cautious on what you need to do about leases. But you'd be, oh, sorry, it's not in the movable notes, sorry, it's in the intangible assets note. So I see the leases actually there. Sorry, I just got it wrong. It's the intangible assets. So let's go to intangible assets note. You can see that leases have been removed here. So overall, another sub point important for your financial statements is just the tweaks that has been done on your lease disclosure. Okay. I think from a content point of view, that is the majority of the content. Now we need to then just move over to the Excel financial statements. Okay, so in your Excel financial statements, the latest version that was released by the end of September has been added to this release. And you would see on your document manager, you can access your document manager by just access your document manager by just switching on the documents. Go, you can see here, maybe if you screen it like this and you want to see the document manager, you should just click on that documents in the template menu bar and you can see the document manager. The Excel file has been added there. You can even launch the Excel file also from that icon there. But I like to sometimes look at the Excel file from the document manager, launch it from here, and then you can use this Excel file. Okay, so this is the Treasuries Excel file. Just as a recap on the Excel, it's a Treasuries Excel file that has been issued by National Treasury. Subsequent to September, I think here towards November, there was a patch to the Excel file, patch 1 of 2025-2026 that has also been issued. And that was luckily just before we made the release in November. So what we have done is updated the Excel file also with the patch. And remember, this Excel file is the normal Treasuries Excel file. All that we do in case we're using the connected technology and link up the trial balance and some of the input areas, which is highlighted in blue in this Excel file to the KSV database, as I mentioned, using connector. And but this is in essence the Excel file that you would have received from National Treasury. Once you have opened up the Excel file, it will just refresh all the connector calculations. So it just takes 1 or 2 moments. Just give it a moment, and then the calculations will be completed, and we are ready to report on the Excel. Whilst we're waiting for this Excel, important to remember is that on this Excel, the previous year's numbers is locked by National Treasury, and you only can import the previous year's numbers to this Excel file using the National Treasury prior import macro. That has not changed. So only the current year values are connected in from KSV to this Excel file. Okay, yes, thank goodness it's now done. So therefore the trial balance is linked up to the Excel file. But the prior trial balance, you need to use the macro. What we've done for this release, the macro that you need to run this to run this import, we just for convenience sake also included as an Excel document to the document manager. Remember how that works. You can just launch now this Excel macro from your KSV file. Have your prior Excel financial statements open, run the macro, select your designated file, and select your, the source file and the designated file, and the import will have the macro is speed. This side, okay, there you go. Remember, this is normal Treasury macro. We just included for you for reference purposes easily in this release. So you can select in designation file, which is your 26 financial statements, and your source file would be your 25 financial statements, and you can import the prior numbers like that. Again, KSV does not have access to the prior numbers, and the only way to populate it is with that macro from National Treasury. Okay. Now, on this Excel file, the connector has done its thing, and now all of a sudden you see that listen here under the statutory appropriations section, you've got the hash value, and you And if you go here, then there is a value issue. You say, what the hell now? There's now an issue of my connector. The issue is not with the connector, it's just a setup on your engagement consolidate. Let me show you how to deal with that. If you go to engagement consolidate, some of the files does not have all the new subprogram for statutory receivables that has been added. That's only available on template level. But all that you need to do to spear out that is to add the subprogram. And I think this one is SA8 that is missing. Oh, we just need to close down some files here. Okay. And relaunch my Excel financial statements. So now we're just going to wait again a minute or so for the next thing. But now that error should be sorted. Okay. On the last week's waiting for this, very important. If you have any issues with your connector, a very easy check for you to do is under your program files, add and remove programs. Just make sure that you have the right version of connector that is shown here. If you have Caseware version, Caseware version 2025, you should also have Caseware version and connector 2025. If you don't have that, just contact our support desk and they will help you to resolve that. You cannot have a Caseware version, Caseware Working Papers 2025 and connected version 2024. You would ask, but how can that happen? And it's really maybe a function of the installation process. If you did not select during your installation process to install Caseware version connector 2025, then Caseware version connector 2024 will still remain on your workstation. However, that unfortunately will make that your connector reports is not working, as the connector needs to work together with the relevant Caseware version that has been issued. Okay, let's go to the appropriation statement. Voila, that issue has been sorted. There's another value there that's just not pulling through. This is sometimes happens because of the there's no value in the database and it's not applicable to you, so you can just override it. You can see that this is to that A assistance, which is not widely used. Okay, so now you have your appropriation statement. You would see that because we've not done an import and prior, my only the numbers for the current year is showing, and I'm ready to complete my Excel financial statements. Okay. Just to check your again the two very important version control documents or your version control tab. You can see here that the patch has been run on this file, so you would pass that with the treasury, and let's see. Okay, the exceptions, you know how to clear your exceptions just as you draft your financial statements. Okay. I think from a timing perspective, those are all of the items that we wanted to cover. I think we went a bit over time. Maybe we just need to check if there's any questions, and we will gladly try to address the questions that you have. So it looks like there is no questions before we say goodbye. Just a reminder that if you need the support team, there are 3 methods to connect with the support team. The preferred method is using Caseware Community. So let's just quickly do that. So the preferred method is using Caseware Community and use the chat with us. Please, that's really effective. The second method is phoning, really ineffective. And the third method is email, really ineffective. So for your own frustration, for your own benefit, very easy, very effective, excellent technology, excellent turnaround time. And please use the Caseware Community and then the chat with us function that you will be sorted very quickly using this method. Okay, with that, we are done.